What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dropping Wisdom with Santos podcast. And today I have a reoccurring guest, my man Jesus, the Black Jesus, is in the house.
Hey.
But before we get into episode 140, I want to address something that I said a couple episodes ago. And a lot of my listeners replied to my episode and wanted to let me know something. And it was addressing the no tax on tips bill when I said it was no tax on cash tips. So I'm like, that's not a big deal. Who the fuck claims their cash and tips? But they're telling me in the IRS code, the IRS identifies credit card tips as cash. So now that makes more sense because I'm like, no cash tips, who cares? But no, credit card tips is cash. Credit card tips is recognized as cash as per the IRS code. Thank you for listeners for letting me know. I don't want to be spreading misinformation, but I didn't know, and now you told me. I appreciate it.
Honestly, before we get into that just shows how good of a guy you are, that you're willing to take that kind of criticism and upon further research, change up your statement, what have you, because you had new information. That just shows you you're an honorable man. So that's good on you,
I appreciate that, man. Well, it just shows, I appreciate that, And if we're going to elaborate a little bit more, there were some trolls on there calling me certain names. And I'm like, well, we know that they won't say that shit to me in person. That's just keyboard gangsters right there. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, Jesus.
What's up, dude?
Before we get into this podcast again, I want to ask a question. Have you guys implemented cocaine in any of your products?
No.
Motherfucker,
I said it the first time with the first episode, and I said it how many episodes now has it been? Five, six now at this point?
Yeah.
We're not doing that. Cocaine is an illegal substance, bro. You can't do that.
Well, in certain places.
Well, we're in America, so we can't do that. So.
Yeah. Episode 140, the Black Jesus, the Nutrition Corner.
Woo!
Drop that wisdom, man. I wanted you on because this time I wanted you to address like the top 5 major products that you guys sell, your top 5 sellers, and the top and some products that you have that you think should be, but they aren't yet.
Okay.
Drop it.
So, you'll notice everyone who's watching now, because Santos now has video on his podcast. Hi, I'm Black Jesus. Jesus, what's going on, you guys? We have an assortment of supplements here next to me, just to show some representation. Some of these are actually products that are super, super popular in our stores, and some are more representative of the category of product that they are. So, first and foremost, our most popular product, our most highest selling product, the most consistent thing that always sells in our stores, creatine monohydrate. And with everything going on with this new study that popped out that showed creatine showing very, very promising effects when it comes to like Alzheimer's and all kinds of brain cognitive diseases, I only foresee that thing is going to be going even more. It's going to be probably even more popular in our stores as time progresses. Now, for those who don't know, creatine monohydrate is found in red meats. It's very, very simple. What it does, it works to recycle your body's ATP production. So without getting too much into the biology of it, it essentially makes it easier for your body to have more energy to do more tasks. Now, on the surface level, people think it helps with power output, endurance, more reps and more sets in the gym, and that is correct. Creatine does do that. But if we go back to high school biology, right, we're maximizing our ATP production and our ATP resynthesis. And ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is the main energy molecule in the body for literally almost every single biological process. And so if you are maximizing the recycling of that molecule, stands to reason that you're maximizing every single biological process that is affected by that molecule. And that's where these recent studies show that creatine has been shown to be neuroprotective, has been shown to I haven't looked into them specifically because there's quite a few of them that have come out in the recent months and years and whatnot, but they're showing a lot of promising results with creatine monohydrate, so I would not be surprised if we start seeing creatine get more mainstream as time progresses. But at the stores, we have one from this brand, Core Nutritionals, and there's quite a few other ones from like creatine gummies and then other types of creatine that we carry. But the Core one is our most popular one. Now, the 3 that I have here, I don't know if you can see it. We got a flavor. We have 3 flavored ones. I got orange creamsicle, blue raspberry, and I got cherry berry, right? So these 3 in particular, because there's 5 flavors for creatine plus the unflavored one. But these ones, Core Nutritionals, this brand, they actually partner with the cotton candy company, Fun Sweets. So that's why these ones have the little Fun Sweets flamingo on there, and they have cotton candy on them. So these ones are going to be a little bit on the sweet side. But These ones are the flavored creatines from this line are 50 servings in the container, 5 grams serve of monohydrate, which is a clinical dose for power output. The unflavored one, which is our most popular one, has about an 80 serve container in that one. So it's a very good price per serve because these all retail for like $24.99. It's pretty awesome. But creatine is probably our best seller that we have in the stores, and that's actually one of the reasons why they made flavored creatine, because it's just a bestseller. So we just wanted to expand the options for you guys.
Okay, when is the best time to take the creatine?
Me-
8 ounces?
Me personally, I would say it doesn't really matter when you take it, because as long as you get the 5 grams in, you're pretty much good to go at that point. You're saturating the muscle cells. I mean, you can also get creatine naturally from red meats, but you have to eat a lot of red meat consistently to see all those effects, which is why it's pretty nice to supplement. It makes it a little bit easier on your pocketbook because red meat nowadays is just very expensive. I eat nothing but ground beef, so it's just
the only reason why I'm asking is
Yeah.
because I read somewhere that they said that it's better to drink your creatine, your 8 ounce or whatever
Mm-hmm.
of creatine before your workout.
You can do that. There are some people who definitely do that, and there are some people who will throw creatine in with their pre-workout, even though there are some studies that show that caffeine intake can affect how the body processes the creatine. So there are some people, and there are still some pre-workouts out there that will use creatine in their pre-workouts. But most people will usually do it either pre-workout or post-workout generally, sometimes in the morning with breakfast. But it's one of those things where if you're saturating the muscle cells consistently, you don't really have to worry about loading, even though this recent study that I was talking to you about was talking about loading creatine up to like 20, 30 some odd grams or what have you, which is a lot. Now, I know what y'all are thinking. Creatine, doesn't it cause bloat? Not really. So it helps with intracellular water retention, yes, and there is studies that show that creatine, the way it works, goes into the intestines, and that's where some people feel that bloat issue when they're on creatine. But generally, that bloat that you feel, the sensation, is intracellular, so you're not really going to see it, you're just going to feel it. But the other issue that a lot of people have with when they start using creatine consistently is that they don't drink enough water. Right? Most people, I tell them to do, anywhere from a half gallon to a gallon and a half a day, depending on how much you sweat generally. But the other side of that equation is also electrolytes. Hydration is more than just water. So just stay hydrated. Make sure your sodium, potassium levels are consistent with your water intake, and you shouldn't see any kind of bloating issue on creatine. I've been on monohydrate for the better part of a decade now at this point. I've been working in the stores for like 8 years now, almost a decade now at this point. It's crazy. But I've been on and off creatine for a while, and I haven't really noticed a bloating issue, mostly because I keep my sodium, my potassium intakes kind of consistent with my water intake. So.
And you don't drink caffeine.
Oh, I drink a lot of caffeine. What are you talking about? I am the
couldn't tell.
I am the king stem junkie in this store. What do you mean? Bro, we sell a lot. And that actually is a great segue into my next category, because our next category is pre-workouts.
Yes.
Everyone uses pre-workouts.
Cocaine.
For the most part, not cocaine. No, we don't do that. I do not condone cocaine usage. But pre-workouts, when you look at the category of pre-workout, there are some misconceptions that I'm going to dispel right now. When you look at pre-workouts, right, like the BH2K from the brand Unmatched, or the Loco from Myoblocks, or even this Bare Knuckle from the brand Apollo, right, we have caffeinated pre-workouts, and then we have non-caffeinated pre-workouts. Now, when you look at regular pre-workouts, you can subcategorize the ingredients into 4 different subcategories. You have your stimulants, like caffeine and yohimbe, things of that nature. You have your nootropics, so tyrosine, choline. You have your lion's mane mushroom extracts, right? Help improve brain function, help with the attention, mind-muscle connection, etc. You have your endurance-boosting ingredients, like creatine monohydrate, like Peak O2, like beta-alanine that gives you the tingles, helping improve time to exhaustion, helping improve your ability to do more reps and more sets in the gym. And then finally, and most importantly in my opinion, pump ingredients. So citrulline, glycerol, arginine nitrate, things help improve nitric oxide production, help with cell volumization, blood flow, muscle fullness, etc. In our stores at the Nutrition Corners, we range from caffeine contents from as low as 100 milligrams of caffeine all the way up to even 600 milligrams of caffeine with other stimulants. So we have a wide variety at the stores for all kinds of people, all kinds of stimulant tolerances. But ultimately, and this is where the misconceptions comes in, there is no such thing as the best pre-workout, because inherently that question, the answer to that question specifically depends on how you're trying to curate your own pre-workout experience. What do I mean by this? So if I look at, say, this BH2K from the brand Unmatched, first and foremost, this is a naturally sweetened line. This entire brand is naturally sweetened with stevia, monk fruit, things of that nature. We have 3D Pump Breakthrough, which is a citrulline glycerol amlac combo at 6 grams, clinical max dose. Standard dose of beta-alanine at 3.2 grams for the tingles. Some tyrosine for the mental focus. Carnitine for the focus, specifically acetyl-L-carnitine. But there's no caffeine in this, although this is a stimulant-based pre-workout. This uses a new metabolite of caffeine called paraxanthine, which is a pretty fun ingredient. I can talk a lot more about that if you guys want to, but I want to make this not super long. But this is a stimulated pre-workout that doesn't utilize caffeine that's naturally sweetened. That is an option. The Myoblox Loco, however, in a 2-scoop dose is 10 grams of raw citrulline.
2 scoops?
Yeah, 2 scoops is 10 grams of raw citrulline. Now, mind you, a clinical dose of citrulline is up to 6 grams. So it's overdosed by 4 grams in a 2-scoop serving. You still get the standard dose of beta-alanine at 3.2 grams. For caffeine, you're getting specifically caffeine anhydrous at 300 milligrams, and you also have caffeine citrate at 200 milligrams, which hits a little bit faster than caffeine anhydrous. You also have your new level in here, which is a patented ingredient for blood flow, tyrosine and taurine for brain function and cardiovascular function. It's a pretty fun pre-workout. This is actually one of my personal favorites, and this flavor, Gorilla Juice, is lemon lime sherbet. So this is actually one of my personal favorites. But these two products, right, off rip, this doesn't use standard stimulants. It uses paraxanthine. This one does use caffeine, right? So they're going to feel a little bit different. The nootropic blend between them is going to be different as well. And even the pump matrix. So we also have pre-workouts. I didn't bring them here right now, but there are pre-workouts for those of you who don't like the beta-alanine tingles. There are pre's that don't have that tingle.
I hate. That's why I stopped taking my pre-workout.
Right.
Even my skin tingling.
Right.
I don't like that feeling.
So that sensation, funnily enough, is just acute paresthesia. It's the beta-alanine opening up capillaries under your skin. It's helping to essentially buffer lactic acid and other fatigue molecules. So that's where you feel that tingling sensation. There are certain pre-workouts. I know, for instance, the Kenix pre-workout, I remember Axe and Sledge had a couple of pre's that didn't have beta-alanine in them either. There's a couple others that we carry at the store that just don't have beta-alanine. So if you want a pre-workout, you want the stimulants, you want the blood flow, you want the endurance, but you don't want the beta-alanine, that option does exist. It is a thing. I know some of you are probably looking at this product, the Bare Knuckle. You're probably wondering what this is. This is a non-stim pre-workout. So think of this as a pre-workout minus the caffeine, because we're still getting citrulline, you're still getting beta-alanine, you're still getting alpha-GPC and tyrosine for the mental focus. So we have nitric oxide boosters, you have endurance boosting ingredients, you have mental focus boosting ingredients, but no stimulants. So this would be geared for someone who's either doing high intensity interval training, maybe they're doing cardio-based training, right? Maybe they're training in the evening or at nighttime. Maybe you're working third shift and you get off work, your gym's 24 hours, but you don't want to take 300 to 400 milligrams of caffeine before you go to bed, right? That's what non-caffeinated pre-workouts are, right? They're great for people who don't want to use stimulants, depending on what time you train or depending on any kind of heart condition. There's even to a side effect of that, or not side effect, side category, nitric oxide boosters, because those are just pump products, right? All the ingredients in those products are just maximizing blood flow, and that's it. I see you have a question.
Name those prices of each one.
I know the BH2K retails in our store wholesale for $59.99.
Unmatched $59.99.
Right. The Loco from Myoblox retails for $49.99.
$49.
Right. The Bare Knuckle, I believe this one retails wholesale for $59.95. Don't quote me on that though, because I might be wrong with that.
Name the creatine prices.
Creatine, most of the core creatine retails for $24.99 wholesale. I know we have some other creatines at the store as well. We even have creatine gummies for those of you who want the gummies. I know those ones, we have 2 of them. I think they both retail for $34.99.
Creatine gummies.
Yeah, that's a thing apparently. I just do my scoopage. I don't really care for the gummies.
Yeah.
But people like what they like, and the creatine gummies can be effective as long as they're dosed properly. So.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, you have quite a few different options to choose from when it comes to the pre-workout side of things, because there's so many options to choose from. Most of our sales at our stores come from a lot of pre-workouts because that's one of the main things that people buy. But at the end of the day, even as King Stim Junkie in the entire store, as someone who will use 4, 5, almost sometimes 600 milligrams caffeine as a pre-workout, I train in the morning, so I kind of need to kick me up. But caffeine and pre-workouts, right, are bottom tier when it comes to your supplement stack needs, right? I always teach people at the stores to follow this rule that I call the Cat Williams rule, right? Make pimp decisions with your money. I don't care ultimately what your goal is, how experienced you are, or even what your specific fitness goal is, right? When you're looking at the holistic side of it, right? In the grand scheme of things, regardless of goal, we have to maximize eating habits, sleeping habits, and training habits consistently over a long period of time. That's how you net progress. I don't care how big you want to get. If you're 160 pounds soaking wet and you want to get to 250, you only eat 2 meals a day and you coming to my store asking me for a pre-workout, right? That's not the right answer. That's not how you should go about it. The way that I think of pre-workouts in particular, think of them like NOS for your car, right? It's great to have. You win the race, you get the girl, you get the pink slip, you're in the next Fast and Furious movie, and Dominic Toretto is your best friend. Great, fantastic. But if you don't put gas in the car, the NOS ain't gonna work the way it's supposed to, right? So gas for the human body is proper eating, food, and proper sleep, rest. If we don't have those, no amount of caffeine, no amount of nitric oxide boosters or endurance boosting ingredients are going to help you, right? Maximize your basics. Make pimp decisions with your money, right? That's how I look at it.
I eat like a fat ass and I sleep like a baby.
Well, the sleeping like a baby is great, and even though you say you eat like a fat ass, you still look good, so it's fine.
it's a gift and a curse.
See, if there you
it's
go.
a gift and a curse.
So,
Go to the next one.
So going to the next one, this is the Core Nutritionals Pro. This is a personal favorite flavor of mine and Death by Chocolate. I am a slut for chocolate and chocolate peanut butter flavor specifically. With protein powders. This is a whey-based one. It does have some digestive enzymes, and they're manufactured in a CGMP facility. So great manufacturing practices. But with protein powders, ultimately, how I look at it, I have 3 rules. Number 1, start small. Yes, the 5-pounders are better price per serve, right? But even now, with how expensive protein is at the moment, $100 and what have you is a standard cost now for 5-pounders generally, for like 50 to 70 servings, right? If you don't like the flavor of your product, you just bought 5 pounds of it. It's going to be annoying to go
like
through.
You said, make pimp decisions.
Make pimp decisions, right? Yeah. So the first rule is to start small. We have 2-pounders at the store. We even have some 1-pounders for some of the brands to get a feel for how brands do their flavors. Because one brand will do chocolate a certain way, another brand will do chocolate different. And so people that know their flavors will know the differences, right? So you start with a small tub to get a feel for how it tastes. Second rule is to start in your preferred OG flavor. If you know you like chocolate or vanilla or chocolate peanut butter, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, s'mores, right? These flavor profiles have been around for 50, 60, 70 years at this point. If the brand can't get that right, how are they going to get coconut right? Or pineapple, which is a more niche flavor, right? So number 1, start small. Number 2, start in your preferred OG flavor. And number 3, this is honestly the most important rule. Make sure the protein agrees with your stomach. If you know you have an issue with lactose, go for a lactose-free whey protein isolate or a plant-based, egg-based option, or eat more food. That's the right answer, ultimately. When you look at the proteins holistically as well, like you're talking anywhere from 100 to 120 calories for a whey protein isolate, generally, up to like 140, 180 calories for a regular whey blend or a sustained release blend. Over 20 grams of protein, ideally, with minimal carbs and fats, generally. The isolates can be as low as 0 grams for carbs and fats, depending on the manufacturing. And the blends can be anywhere from as low as 3 grams, 2 grams, up to like 6 to 8 grams. Again, depending on the flavor profiles, if they add inclusions to the mix, like your marshmallows and Lucky Charms mixes, etc., right? But in the grand scheme of things, you're only doing these protein shakes for maybe a scoop to 3 scoops a day, if that, generally. Which is a drop in the bucket for total protein content and total calorie content. So my fallback always in the stores when people ask about which is the right protein powder, make sure it tastes good, make sure it agrees with your stomach. That's honestly all that matters.
What kind of Puerto Rican are you? You only eat ground beef?
I do eat ground beef. I love pork.
That's it?
I eat
that's what you say, you all eat ground beef.
I eat a lot of red meats. There's a lot of red meats.
Okay, because I've been to Puerto Rico, man.
Brother, we love red meat. We love lechon. Don't play with me on that.
I mean, ground beef? Y'all eat a lot of pork.
We do eat a lot of pork, but pork is pork, depending on the cut of the pork, honestly, is a lot of fats. And I'm in a cut right now because I'm in a transformation challenge. So I gotta be serious. I gotta do my 90-10.
Gotta eat that ground beef. That ground beef makes the cut.
But honestly, it's also because I don't like cooking all that much. To be honest, as someone who cooks a lot, I just don't like cooking. So I keep it simple. Ground beef and ground turkey are my go-to protein sources from food because they're just easy to cook. You just throw it on a pan, season it as desired, cook until it's your desired color, and then separate it out.
You talk like someone that doesn't have an air fryer.
I do have an air fryer.
You just throw them in a piece of chicken.
I just don't like the way my chicken comes in an air fryer. Listen, my mom, if you're watching this, you are not allowed to die anytime soon because your chicken is amazing, and no matter how hard I try, it'll never taste like yours. So don't do that. You need to start, taking care of yourself. So
okay, let's go to the next one.
Moving on. So another very popular these are two parts of the same coin, really. You have
Show that to the camera.
testosterone boosters, which I have two of my favorites here.
Hard Target.
Hard Target from Anarchy Labs, which is a sub brand from Apollon. They're a good. I'm a good friend with the CEO of that brand. He's a pretty cool guy, Rob. Shouts out to you. But they're a great brand. And then Core Nutritionals Test, which is this is the one I'm on right now currently. Test boosters are very popular in our stores because, and there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to testosterone boosters. So I'm going to dispel these myths right now.
Prices too.
I think this one retails for $64.99. This one retails for $59.99.
Okay.
But the test boosters generally will range from as low as $44, $49.99 up to $64, even $100 for some of them. Like one or two other brands that we carry that use a lot of patented ingredients. Great formula, just pretty expensive. You get what you pay for, wholesale wise. But with natural testosterone boosters, right? The way that I teach people to look at these natural testosterone boosters, it is still a supplement, all right? It's not Tren, it's not D-ball, it's not a pro hormone, it's not a peptide, it's not a SARM, it's a natural testosterone booster. What it's doing is maximizing your body's own production of testosterone, right? So, if you're not eating a lot of cholesterol, healthy cholesterol from animal fats and other sources, and you're taking a test booster, how are you going to build a lot of testosterone or boost it if you're not providing your body with the main raw material that helps you make testosterone, right?
Yeah.
If you're not getting enough sleep or mitigating your stresses, which is going to affect your cortisol levels, and you're taking a testosterone booster, how much testosterone are you actively going to boost if you're not taking care of those bare minimum essentials, right? That's where the Cat Williams rule, again, comes into play. Eat, sleep, train is how you make progress, and that's how these things work. If you're not getting enough sleep or eating enough of the right foods, these won't work the way they're supposed to. Ideally, you're also getting tested, right? You're checking to see where your testosterone levels are before you hop on the stack or the cycle or whatever, and then maybe halfway through the cycle, which generally tends to be anywhere from as short as 4 weeks, which is not a long time, up to 12 weeks. I like the sweet spot of an 8-week cycle, so up to 2 bottles of most of these things. You get your levels tested before, during, and then after the stack to see what's going on. But that also depends on healthcare and do you have access to testing and things of that nature. So I understand that. But a natural testosterone booster is only going to do but so much if you're not doing your parts, right? Eating the right foods, getting the right sleep, training adequately, things of that nature.
And I believe that's one of the main factors why people don't see results, because they don't do what you're
Right,
talking
and
about.
that's the thing with any supplement, ultimately. It's in the name. They're supplementary to your basic behaviors. And that's where, again, the Cat Williams rule comes into play. If you're not doing your part on the basic side, why waste the money, the $120 to $60 to $80 on insert supplement here? Make pimp decisions. Don't just spend money willy-nilly like the U.S. government does. Don't do that, right? Be smart about that. We're smarter than this. So that's testosterone boosting. And one more thing with that. When you're looking at natural testosterone boosting in supplements, you want, ideally, natural testosterone boosting ingredients that are tested and tried. Things like D-aspartic acid, things like Fedosia, things like Spilanthes, right? These are very, very popular. If you can look at PubMed, PubChem, Examine.com, and you can look into the research on all these things on your own time. Minimally on top of that, I would suggest some kind of anti-estrogen, right? The body always wants to maintain homeostasis. So if you're boosting testosterone levels to above normal levels, it'll take the aromatase enzyme, convert that excess testosterone into estrogen, which if you get those too high, that's where gynecomastia happens, that's where mood swings happen, that's where you start holding on to more water, things of that nature, right? But you want to make sure you have in your testosterone boosting formula or as another product to take with that some kind of anti-estrogen. So something like 3,3-dinomethane, which is found in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli. In some testosterone boosters like this one, they use arimistane. The test uses the pine extract. It's a resin extract, which I'm not going to try and pronounce it, but it's shortened for DHAA, essentially. But those are things that inhibit the aromatase enzyme from doing its job, which allow you to have high levels of testosterone. And this goes actually into my next product, cortisol control, stress management, ashwagandha, rhodiola, your adaptogens. In natural testosterone boosters, you can find a lot of these products in there also.
And what is that again?
This is Core Heart. This is actually one of my personal favorite supplements to run. I'm a regional manager for the stores. I've been there for 8 years now, and I oversee the Southern Hampton Roads region, and I help oversee basically the entire company. So having 12, 11, 13 stores, 10 stores is like having, that many kids that all want to do their own thing, and you have to corral them to all row in the same direction.
Fuck
that
them
can be
kids, man.
Whoa.
Fuck them
Don't talk
kids,
about my
dog.
kids now. My kids are great. But I will say, it can be pretty stressful when you're dealing with a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
When you have a large company that spans from Northern Virginia down to Mooresville, North Carolina. Shouts out to you, Amari, right? So Things like your adaptogens, ashwagandha, rhodiola, things like amino acids like L-theanine, right? These help to boost mood. They help to control for cortisol, your body's main stress hormone, which when you do that, it helps you put your body in a better position biochemically to let go of body fat, be more anabolic. And the side effect is you're not nearly as agitated, not nearly as annoyed with things going on in your day. Currently, I'm on 1,200 milligrams of KSM 66 ashwagandha right now. It's why I feel great. Bro. It's a patented ashwagandha extra. It's in this one. It's in the Heart Target. It's in the test.
But you don't need to take one to take the other.
No, you can take all these separately. You can take them by themselves. You can stack certain ones together. Yeah.
Let's see this one.
The Core Heart is pretty fun. You got a 600 milligram dose of KSM 66, which is one of the most phenomenal patents for ashwagandha, if you ask me. I think it's the only one that has a clinical study showing it reducing cortisol by 27%.
And these are vegetable caps.
Yeah, vegetable caps. So that's the Core Heart from Core Nutritionals. It also has a 500 milligram dose of phosphatidylserine, which is another very powerful anti-cortisol ingredient. You have theanine in there for mood elevation. You have 3,3-dindolmethane for estrogen regulation. And then you have theobromine in there, the cocobutyrol, which is a very mild stimulant. I'm talking weaker than caffeine.
How much is this one?
The bottle retails for $44.99 in our stores wholesale. The powder form is technically a stronger product. They add 2 ingredients to it, and that retails for, I think, $49.99 for that one wholesale. But that is probably one of my best-selling cortisol control products that we sell in the store, just because of the way that I teach people to supplement and the way that I teach them to maximize their own basics, right? A lot of people nowadays, especially with everything going on now with, the wars and the genocides and all these things and what have you, it gets people stressed, right? Work, life, bills, it's stressful, right? And we're trying to maximize any kind of fitness goal. I recommend any kind of cortisol control product to help with that, right? But obviously, having good sleep will help with that also. So
okay, so these are your top 5. You got the creatine,
right? Creatine monohydrate,
pre-workouts,
protein powders, and then test boosters, and with a little bit for cortisol control.
Okay, the cortisol.
Those are like my main big ones. Now, in terms of the ones that that's my. Now, in terms of like ones that I wish were better selling. Sleep aids.
What's that?
So most people, they hear the word sleep aid and they think, oh, I don't need help with my sleep. I sleep fine, right? But as we know, people have shitty metabolisms, shitty circadian rhythms. You work third shift. You're not really working the way or sleeping the way that we're designed to, as a species. So sleep aids, the way that I explain them, don't think of it as an aid for your sleep. Think of it as a pre-workout for your sleep, right? It helps to maximize your growth hormone secretion, maximize the sleep quality, maximize the time you're in REM sleep, so that we are able to, quote-unquote, sleep faster and then wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go. Now, there are a lot of people who will use things like melatonin, which is a endogenous hormone, is produced by the brain or what have you. And there are some people who don't like using melatonin. Now, there are sleep aids that don't have melatonin, right? The 2 that come to mind for me right now, one of them actually from these 2 brands. Apollon has one called Chill Until Tomorrow, which is a cortisol control base sleep aid. Doesn't use melatonin if I remember correctly. And then the Core has their Core Zs. Now that one does use melatonin, but they also have other ones. We're talking like ZMAs. We're talking.
How much is the sleep aid?
It depends. In our store, they can range from as low as $39.99, even $14.99. Because I know NutriKey, which is they do a lot of raw ingredients for their products. They have their product called Z Optima, which retails for like $14, $15.99 in my stores. It's a 40-serve container of zinc, magnesium, vitamin B6, dosed in a way to improve sleep quality, not necessarily knock you out the way that GABA or other sleep aid ingredients would. But sleep aids to me are probably the most for pun intended, they're one of the most slept on supplements. A lot of people, when I tell them about sleep aids, they look at me like, I don't need help with my sleep. What's wrong with that? Like, I don't need help with my sleep either. My dad taught me how to sleep on concrete, okay? It's great. But if we're trying to maximize recovery, sleep is probably your most important avenue, right? If you don't you secrete the most growth hormone while you sleep. So if you're not sleeping, you're not recovering. You're not recovering, we're not making gains. So what's the point, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it. So sleep aids would be one. And then actually another one that I would probably say would be nootropics, which some of you remember, they're in pre-workouts, yes. But nootropics, this would be like... Milobox has their Skywalk, which is a personal favorite. They have another one. I know that, what's that called? Black Market Labs has their new Bump, which there's your cocaine reference right there. It's only like 80 milligrams of caffeine in that one, so it hits pretty nicely because it has a heavy dose of tyrosine in there, heavy dose of acetylcarnitine in there as well, if I remember correctly, the formula. But nootropics, they help improve brain function, so help with mind-muscle connection, help with memory, retention. They're great for studying. I used quite a few of them when I was in college. To get Dean's List a couple times. spend a couple of
I never
hours.
went to college, man. I'm not
That's
smart.
okay. Just because you didn't go to college, you can argue that you were smart because people be in debt. So it depends on how you use it, right? So, but I think sleep aids and nootropics to me are probably, especially nowadays with Joe Rogan's podcast and him talking about Alpha Brain and On It. I mean, like, nootropics are starting to get a little bit more popular. I'm starting to get some more people asking about them, but they're a very fun category of supplement ingredient because, I mean, I'm a nerd. I like nerd stuff. So looking at spreadsheet work can be annoying sometimes, especially when you're running 13 stores, 12 stores. So
And all your locations. Well,
Yeah.
Talk about all the locations. Most of them are next to One Life gyms.
Oh, it's down here.
All-
Down here, Southampton Roads. They are. So
Yeah.
here in Virginia, in the Southampton Roads, I oversee the Virginia Beach Boulevard location, which is by the Boulevard One Life. That's Ireland's the manager of that store. Shouts out to you, Ireland. I have the Princess Anne store over by the Princess Anne One Life. Shouts out to you, Chris. We have my store over at the General Booth, which is the one that I normally am at. So that's the Oceana one over by the Red Mill One Life. Shouts out to you, Liz. One Life, we love y'all. What else? Princess Anne, that's the 3 here in Virginia Beach. Then we actually, because we're pretty good friends with One Life, we have a store located inside the Norfolk One Life and the Greenbrier One Life. Shouts out to Annie and Giselle respectively. But those 2 locations are the only ones of ours that make smoothies, right? Because they're located inside of a gym. So it's pretty great if you go to those 2 One
You
Lives.
thinking about doing that over here at the General Booth one?
We never got asked for it, I don't think. But I mean, it's...
They have room for it.
Do they?
I mean, it's a huge gym.
It is the biggest gym.
I mean, you can make room.
Red Mill's so nice. They have so much good equipment there.
I love that place.
It's a great place. But I mean, we have those 5 here in Southampton Roads. Over across the way, you got Newport News, right? Over by Jefferson Avenue. Shouts out to you, Carl, and Caden.
I'll never go there.
It's a great place.
I'm not saying it's not Newport News. No thanks.
I mean, Newport News is a 40-minute drive on a good day with no traffic, so there's that. But if you're, in like say Richmond area, or you don't want to come all the way down to Virginia Beach, Newport News exists, right? Then we have the Northern Virginia stores, which those are not my direct region. Shouts out to my guys over at North. So we got Dulles, we got Arlington, we got Manassas. Fairfax shut down, unfortunately, and then so those 3 are the main ones that I.
And you have a few down in North Carolina.
And then we have 2 actually. One official one and then 2 unofficial ones. The Mooresville Nutrition Corner is down in Statesville, and then we have there's by the HQ. The HQ has a gym attached to it. So in that gym, they have a supplement shop. Those are the 2 unofficial ones. Those are the training corners. And so those are the ones that are located inside the gyms that are owned by us and whatnot. But those gyms are down in North Carolina only. So shouts out to North Carolina because they're a fun place.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. The
I
Black
appreciate you
Jesus.
for having me, man.
Episode 140, the Nutrition Corner.
Yeah.
Since we last talked, any supernatural paranormal activities you
No,
experienced?
brother. They don't like me, apparently. Well, actually, I kind of leave them alone, so they kind of leave me alone. And I like to keep it that way, so...
All right, guys. Well, I'm also selling merchandise that are coffee cups and magnets for a bundle of $20.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a guest, please let me know. I'd love to have you on. Just message me on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. And if you know me, just text me. And follow me. I'm on YouTube, X, what am I? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, all the social media platforms.
He's everywhere, everyone.
I'm trying. That being said, do what Jesus says.
Eat more food, get more sleep, train harder, make pimp decisions with your money. Shouts out to you.
And what do pimps do? Cocaine!
No, they don't. Ours do.